Hey guys, this is Feliciano96. I'm here to bring you guys another pod fic. Today's fic is titled Marked as an Omegan. It is 2,057 words, written by My Hero Worst Wolvie. I really like the universal take that they do on this one. It's a different concept for Omegaverse, and if you guys aren't familiar with Omegaverse, generally everybody in the world has a secondary gender. They'll touch base on that a little bit more in the fic, so I won't get too much into it. Just keep in mind, this is an Omegaverse. For any tags, we're looking at angst, implied mating cycles, and scenting. So if you're not into that stuff, don't feel pressured to listen. This is rated for teen and up audiences, so keep that in mind. With that out of the way, here's a summary. When one becomes of age, they would earn a mark right between the thumb and index finger to tell everyone if they were an alpha, beta, or the worst of the three, an omega. When one becomes of age, they would earn a mark right between the thumb and index finger to tell everyone if they were an alpha, beta, or the worst of the three, an omega. A simple alpha was for an alpha, often appearing in a bold, dark color. Then there was the beta, for the betas often appearing in a muted, basic color. And the worst of them to be stuck with was omega, for omega. The weakest of them all, often appearing in a bright color. No one ever wanted to present as one, as it meant being outside was far too dangerous. Omegas were viewed as not being capable of standing up for themselves, as their instincts were to be more submissive to alphan commands. Alphas were great for pro-hero work, often having strong quirks that were built for protecting pups and omegas, as all alphas should want to be. When A.B.O's quirk formed, he was so sure he was going to present as an alpha. His quirk had the ability to be super protective. He could harden his body, being a shield. He would be a big, strong alpha when he turned 15. He was sure of it. Even told his best friend Katsuki that he was absolutely sure. "You better be an alpha. I want you fighting by my side, A.B.O." A.B.O's mind plays those words from Katsuki when he woke up on the morning of his 15th birthday to a bright red omega. Shame pours over him like a large tsunami. He can't be an omega. He needs to be an alpha if he wants to be with Katsuki. Katsuki would ditch him the moment he finds out about his omegan status. He needs to hide his mark, and Scent needs to act like an alpha. For Katsuki, A.B.O thinks as he downs a few suppressants and slips a pair of studded fingerless gloves on. Not too unusual. He normally wore a pair when he was in school to match with Katsuki. No one would be suspicious, and if they asked to see his mark, he'd just tell them he was obviously an alpha, so they didn't need to see it. So for years he kept his status a secret from all of his friends, and especially the one that he so desperately wanted to love him. So far, no one has suspected a thing. The thing no one told A.B.O was, as one got older, suppressants did a shit job at covering your secondary gender symptoms if you were far too active, and pro-hero work meant being extremely active. It started off with the simple things, such as suddenly his scent got a little sweeter, which was easy to fix with a few scent patches. Downside, by the time A.B.O even noticed a change in his scent, he was in the middle of fighting a villain who was very clearly a strong alpha. "So they're letting the weak play pretend at being strong now." He can feel the grip of the villain tighten around his hardened wrist, the unbearable heat of the villain's quirk burning him. It makes his inner omega want to whine out, but he's got to keep it locked up. He's got to stay in control so no one else knows. "Come on, whine out for your alpha. You know you're no match for me, omega." A.B.O can feel the omegan whine building up in his throat, but he doesn't dare open his mouth. Too afraid of the wine breaking free. He doesn't need to lose Katsuki. Not here. Not now. Not like this. He can't bear the thought of seeing Katsuki go from looking at him like he was the strongest to suddenly not even giving him so much as a glance. It sounds greedy, selfish, and most definitely not hero-like. But he likes having Katsuki's eyes on him. Scream for him to save you. You know you're too weak to take me on without him. Scolding hot hands wrap around his throat, forcing the omegan wine to break free, the scent of an omega in extreme distress filling the streets. His career as Red Riot will surely be history after this fight, but Eijiro doesn't care about that, because through his blurring vision, he can see Katsuki barreling towards him and the villain with a pissed-off elfin snarl, the look of an alpha who is only seeing red. An alpha seeing red is never a good sign. It usually only happens when an alpha becomes single-focused on protecting and will often cause bloodshed if push comes to shove. And it seems that's Katsuki's goal with this villain that currently has him in a chokehold. Come on, A! Fight back! It's probably some sort of quirk just making you think you're a weak Omega. But you're an alpha! Remember that! Eijiro can hear Katsuki shouting at him, while he practically beats up the villain for daring to touch him. While his Omega preens happy at the thought of having Katsuki protect him, red-hot shame runs down his spine. Katsuki doesn't want him unless he's an alpha. Thinks that his Omegan status was a side effect of some unknown quirk. The next incident of his Omegan status being exposed is a week later. The squad was having a day off at the roller rink to celebrate Katsuki and Eijiro getting together. Eijiro had gotten scent patches after the first incident, so he knew now how to cover up his scent. But what he hadn't prepared for was the suppressant suddenly not fully covering up his heat symptoms. Of course, he couldn't go into a full-blown heat well on them, but it seems now that they weren't working to cover up his preheat symptoms. Eijiro was holding on to Katsuki's hands for support while the blonde guided him through the steps of bouncing and turning. All was well until a sudden wave of warmth tore through his body, and suddenly Katsuki's scent felt like it was calling to him. Eijiro knew he was screwed. There was no way he could play this off. He was definitely, royally screwed, and he only had himself to blame. He might as well kiss his newly formed relationship with Katsuki goodbye now, as the explosive and strong alpha wouldn't want a weak Omega like him. He always told Eijiro that he likes a really strong alpha who's able to keep up with him. He's an Omega. He'll never be everything that Katsuki wants. His love is doomed, and now all he can do is wait for that heavenly blast of an explosion that is bound to happen. Eijiro awaits the unavoidable, but doesn't seem to come. Katsuki continues to teach him how to roller skate like there isn't anything else going on. Like he's perfectly indifferent to the changes happening to Eijiro that are as clear as day. Another wave of heated warmth blazes through the redhead's body. The sudden onslaught of it brings him to lean heavily into Katsuki's arms, ultimately bringing him closer to the blonde alpha's scent. If these waves of preheat hot flashes keep up, he'd probably be driven mad with Katsuki's scent. Whoa! Shitty hair, what's going on? Eijiro can hear the concern in the explosive blonde's voice, and the caring nature of the alpha before him has his Omega wanting to whine out for help, but he swallows hard and throws his signature sharp-toothed smile. There must be an Omega in here around here. Can't you smell it? He asked, hoping that his lie was convincing enough. There was, after all, an Omegan scent in the air, and it's not like Katsuki would know that the strawberry scent was his. The lie must have seemed semi-convincing, because he watched as Katsuki sniffed the air, and immediately began dragging him off the roller rink, shouting over his shoulder to the rest of the squad that he and Katsuki needed to talk in private. Maybe the lie wasn't convincing at all. Eijiro let Katsuki pull him around until they were behind the roller rink's building, and the ash-blonde alpha looked pissed. Give me your hand, shitty hair. Katsuki growled at him in a demanding voice, but it lacked the elfin command, to which it meant that the alpha trusted Eijiro wouldn't need the command to obey. Eijiro didn't need the command, but he decides to play the dumb himbo card and give Katsuki his ungloved hand, the one that doesn't have the mark. Don't play dumb. The other one. Now there's the command behind the words. And since Eijiro is not alpha, he has no choice but to obey, and lifts his gloved hand for Katsuki to take into his own. He can't look as the ash blonde removes his fingerless glove that covers his mark. There's silence. A long, almost deafening silence that has an Omegan whine tearing its way out Eijiro's mouth without his brain's permission. He's scared. Katsuki's usually not one for long silences. Look at me, Eijiro. Did you hide this because you thought I would hate you? There's an almost broken tone in Katsuki's voice when he finally speaks, which has Eijiro instantly looking up at Katsuki, who's staring at the marking upon the redhead's hand. The bright red Omega marking is plain as day. Eijiro can't lie anymore. He can't come up with any excuses. He now has to face the possibility of losing Katsuki forever, and it will have all been his fault for thinking he could pretend he wasn't marked Omegan. Well, you always said I'd better be an alpha so that I can be by your side, and He finds himself being silenced with the sounds of Katsuki's explosion quirk sparking up. He knows for sure now that he screwed up big time, and that there might be no chances of fixing it. The crackling grows louder before it dies down to nothing. You're an idiot, you know that? A damn brave one at that. You know how dangerous it is to have an Omegan pro-fucking hero? You could have died, Eijiro. But you didn't, because you're stronger than the other shitty Omegas out there. You might not have the marking I want, but that doesn't matter to me anymore, dumbass. Because you just proved society wrong. You proved an Omega is more than their marking, that they can stand their ground. You're more than your marking, Eijiro. And I like that more than anything. But you fucking lied to me. Hearing Katsuki's emotional words, he wasn't sure how he should feel. He knew he hurt Katsuki by lying, but his words that he broke out of the molded rolls made him feel a sense of pride. I guess this means you don't want... Don't you fucking put words in my mouth. Let me just goddamn think. It turns out letting Katsuki think gives Eijiro too much time to think of all the things that could possibly go wrong. Each one worse than the last. He almost can't handle it. He already figures he doomed their relationship due to his lie. He betrayed Katsuki's trust. It only made sense that the Ash Blonde would leave him. They had gone from friends to lovers to... He's too scared to know what they are now, because it can't be anything good. You lied, but I can see why you felt the need, Eijiro. I was the one who made you feel like you had to, after all, but... Fuck! You should have told me when we got together, so we could work something out. It hurt Eijiro to watch Katsuki war with himself on wanting to still love him. But the betrayal was clear as day upon the blonde's face. The alpha clearly was still trying to wrap his head around an Omega actually being able to actually keep up with a strong alpha. We'll just keep this between us, until I can figure something out. Katsuki eventually mumbles out, grabbing Eijiro's hand and placing the fingerless glove back on to cover up the mark. Being marked as an Omegan is a damning curse to society, and yet Eijiro had turned it into something so much more than a curse. Thank you guys so much for listening to that one. As I said before, click on the link below. Go give that author lots of love, lots of kudos, and encourage them to write another chapter because I want to see where this story goes. I say that a lot about their works. They do a lot of one-shots, so I keep giving them more work on their plate. I'm so sorry, my hero, worst Wolvie. My intentions is not to give you more stress or work. You write interesting perspectives in common tropes, and I kind of want to see your perspective and how you would develop the story. I kind of like this world. I like how it's built up. I think it really gives me soulmate vibes because they're marked. It would be really cool if Katsuki's mark, I imagine it's probably a really dark burnt orange, but it would be really cool if maybe the first time they actually hold hands, not Katsuki looking it over, but if the marks touch, if the soulmate thing, maybe they vibe or they glow or it makes extra warm tinglies. That would be cute. Don't feel pressure to add that. That's just my 2 cents. I really like that they are outwardly marked in a way that everybody can kind of see. I think that definitely, obviously, it adds more angst potential. Very clever. Thank you so much for sharing this work, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I will catch you guys in the next video.